Hey guys, PIEGUYRULZ here, and at the time of this recording, 3 episodes of Pokemon Generations is out. Now, when they first announced this trailer, which was not too long before they premiered the first episode, I was very, very excited. Myself, and I think a lot of other people, have always wanted there to be a more accurate version of the Pokemon games represented in animation form. I mean, say what you will about the regular anime, you know, the one with Ash and everything. I think a lot of people can agree that at some point it really did deviate from the games, and there's a lot of things in the anime that wouldn't happen in the games, and you know, vice versa. And Ash is a very polarizing figure, I guess. There's a lot of people who don't like him. There's a lot of things about the regular anime series that's going on that put a lot of people off, and, you know, we want to see more stuff that's like Pokemon Origins, because Pokemon Origins was great, but Pokemon Origins was 4 episodes, and unfortunately it went by, like, really fast because they had a lot of ground to cover. So seeing a trailer for this was really exciting, because it's like, finally, like, we're gonna get some sort of series that just covers, like, a ton of different aspects, a ton of different stories related to the original games, and not the original games, all the games, and it'd be great, and it'd be cool, and it seemed to have a little bit more of a less goofy tone. I'm not gonna say that the tone is, like, dead serious. I'm not saying that it's, like, adult or mature, because it's really not. It's not anything that's inappropriate for kids. It's just, it's not explicitly trying to appeal to kids. It's not goofy, basically. Or it's not trying to be goofy at any rate. So I was really excited to see what they had up their sleeves, and when it came out, I had mixed feelings, and so I wanted to talk about this now that we have 3 whole episodes out, and you can watch them on YouTube. There's annotations and links and stuff everywhere. You can Google it, you know, whatever, however you want to get to it. This stuff is available for free and easy to see on YouTube. So yes, the first episode, I should point out, basically, if you don't know, they're shorts. They're, like, 5 minutes or less shorts of random snapshots, seemingly random snapshots, from various things in the Pokemon world. Except for the first episode. The first episode is a little different. It's basically a giant montage of Red and Pikachu battling various Pokemon across all the regions except for Alola. And every single time they do, a legendary Pokemon just kind of pops up and interrupts them. The first thing that I have to say about the episode is that the introduction is fantastic. Like, it starts off as, you know, you're just watching footage of someone playing Red or Blue, and then there's a transition where the character catches a Pikachu, and then basically a shadow shows up on the game footage, and then that transitions into, like, anime version Shadow, and then it spins around and shows Red, except it doesn't really show Red too well. And then, you know, we go, like, pretty much straight into a montage with Pikachu. And it's really cool for what it is. Like, the animation is impressive. Just, like, how fast it all is, the speed of everything is great. It's a great pacing, really, like, energetic, entertaining, and great. And I do like it. But the problem is that it is a montage, unfortunately. Now, you could, even though they are shorts, you could tell a more complete story. You know, even with the short time, you could tell some sort of very basic story that goes on within the Pokemon world. But instead, for this first episode, they really did just decide to go with montages, and that's cool. You know, it's something that would probably fit with, like, the theme song to the show, or like a some sort of promotional package for a show, instead of being like the first episode of something. But for what it is, it's different, it's cool, it's high energy, it's fun, and it's a cool way to see all the regions, because from the second and third episodes, they both take place in Kanto, so I don't know if they're going to be slowly going through each region, but it seems like that's what they're going to do, in which case, it's cool to see right up front, here's all the regions, like, here's just a little taste of everything. So that's cool. Yeah, so I like it. I still wish it could have been a little more, but for a montage, it is really fun. Then there's the second episode, which is about Looker trying to track down Giovanni, and Looker and his police force, I should say. And they get there, they get to the gym, and it turns out that Giovanni has already been defeated by Red and Blue. So that was... I think that's the one that I like the least so far, because it's not as action-heavy, it's a lot more dialogue-heavy, and it's ultimately kind of an anticlimax, because they get there and, oh, Giovanni ain't there. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's awful, but I think it is one of those things that it just doesn't feel satisfying, because it doesn't feel like a story. It feels like, here's a little snippet of a greater story. And so that doesn't feel satisfying on its own. There's not really any battling in it. It was cool to see how the police force works in the Pokemon world. You know, it's cool to see them using Pokemon like that. But I think that as a whole experience, it's not entirely satisfying. And also, I don't really care too much about Looker. I know there's some people who do. I'm just kind of indifferent to him. He's kind of become, like, the recurring character in the Pokemon games, but he never was in Gen 1, so I don't know. But yeah, like, it's a cool little snippet of, like, the world of Pokemon, but not a great story in its own right, and a little unsatisfying. So then let's move on to the third episode. Now, what's weird is that the first two episodes aren't in HD. Like, they max out at, like, 480, and the third episode is in HD, so I don't know what the point of that is. I thought at first maybe they were doing it all in standard definition because they wanted you to, like, buy the Blu-ray that has the HD or something, like, you know, holding off on the better version, which I would be fine. You know, they gotta sell some sort of merchandise off this somehow. I bet you they will at some point. Maybe not. But no, that's not the case, because the third episode's in HD, so it just looks like someone made a goof on the first two. So that's kind of weird. But yes, the third episode was about Blue facing off against the Elite Four. And the first thing I have to say is that Blue's dialogue and delivery, so cringy. Oh, I hated it so much. When he was talking, it didn't sound like he was really believing what he said. You know, like, if you look, it's kind of the sign of a bad voice actor when it looks like they're not in the moment. They don't care. It's like, I think his worst line was, "The greatest Pokemon trainer in the world? That is me." And it just, but he didn't say it with conviction, you know? Like, first of all, "that is me" is really stupid. I guess they had to match mouth flaps, when dubbing. But, like, "that is me"? Like, if you were to say, like, "I'm gonna be the greatest Pokemon trainer in the world," okay, sure. It's a cheesy line in general, but to then add, like, "that is me," it doesn't work. It should have been a contraction at least. And just the way he says it doesn't sound like I believe him. It sounds like he's, like, opening up a can of toothpaste or something. Like, "Man, I can't wait to try out this new toothpaste," is, like, the amount of conviction that he says his lines with. And I don't blame the actor. I think it's the bad dialogue. It's hard to turn dialogue that bad and that kind of cheesy and, like, not very well written into something that is a great performance. But yeah, so that's my main gripe out of the way. But this is cool. This is another one where it's just like montage of a bunch of different battles. You get to see each of the Elite Four members. You get to see them battle a little bit, and then you get to see Red coming up to challenge Blue now that he's the champion. It's cool. Again, like, cool battles in there, cool montage, but it doesn't really feel complete. It feels like there's another episode, like, this is the preview to an episode. You know, it's like, "Last time on Pokemon, Blue defeated every one of the Elite Four, and now he's the champion." Like, that's what it feels like, because you don't get to see... None of these battles really have much of an ending outside of, like, maybe Bruno's. And that's just like, "Go, Pidgeot," and then Pidgeot just rams into Machamp, and then that's it. You know, you don't get to see what happens with Agatha's Gengar that she sends out. You don't get to see what happens with Lance's Dragonite. What we see, the ending of that is a stalemate. You know, it looks like it's just they're in the middle of the battle. Like, what's the ending? Obviously Blue won, but how? Why? Where? When? Like, although it is a fun montage, and it is fun to see, it's not entirely a satisfying experience, unfortunately, because it does feel like there are portions that were cut out. And yeah, to that end, I guess in general, I liked the first episode the best because it didn't even try to hide the fact that it was a montage. It just was a montage, and so it was able to just kind of do a bunch of different things and just, you know, completely forget about telling any sort of story. I think that they could tell stories in these 5-minute episodes. I don't like. I don't consider episodes 2 and 3 to be a full story. I consider it to be snippets, but I think they could tell a full one, even if it was a short one. I don't know if they could tackle such big things as, like, the Elite Four or whatever, but you could still tell little stories, like maybe, like, Silver's encounter with Ho-Oh or something, like, or the Legendary Beasts, or, you know, like, they could do something, right? I would have loved to see a full series. I would even love to see, like, 10-minute episodes. But I'm happy with what we got. I still want more, and I still think that it could be a lot better if it was a little longer, and a little less montagey, and a little more like, here's all the details. But I'm happy-ish with what we got. I guess a few more notes on the first episode that I forgot to mention were, I really like the part with the Whoopers where Pikachu shocks them and they just look back at him because they're ground type and they're not affected. That was cool. That was also, like, a nice thing because that was something they kind of screwed up at least once in the anime, in the regular anime. So it was cool to see, like, they're like, alright, no, don't worry, ground types work exactly as you think they do. And I thought that was kind of funny. I think that should be, like, a gif that people use for when someone says something that's, like, not effective at all. It's just, like, the Whoopers staring, like, nope. I also, Pikachu squeaking, that's right. I didn't mention that. That was something that I saw people complaining about, and, like, if you find it annoying, I guess I could understand. I personally didn't find it annoying, but in terms of, like, wanting him to say Pikachu, Pika, Pika, I'm glad they didn't do that. I'm glad we have mouse squeaks, because it makes it more realistic. It makes it differentiate from the rest of the Pokemon media out there. It's showing, like, hey, look, and Pikachu's head, too. It's saying, like, hey, look, this is different. Like, we're doing something else. We're not doing the anime anymore. It's not the same canon. So, I thought that was really cool to see it just be different, you know? And I'm not, like, in love with the squeaks or anything. I could see how some people might find it annoying, but I like that they made that change, and I like that they did make other subtle changes to show, like, look, this is not the typical anime. If you want to watch the typical anime, there's almost 1,000 episodes of that. There's plenty of that. This is something else. So yeah, so that's what I think of Generations. I'm looking forward to more. Maybe in the future they'll be a little more full in terms of the stories they tell. Maybe they'll be a little less montagey, but I don't know. For what it's worth, you know, I'm enjoying it for what it is, even if I do kind of wish that they had something more to it. So that's all I have to say about that, but also on a related note, if you are interested in hearing me talk more about anything animated related to Pokemon in the canon, or not the canon, but officially made out there, like the original anime, you know, any saga of the anime with Ash, Pokemon Chronicles, Pokemon Origins, you know, the movies, whatever. If you want to hear me talk about that, let me know, because I have an idea for how I would like to cover all Pokemon-related stuff. I have kind of like a fun idea, but I don't know if I really want to embark on that unless I've got at least some people on board with me. So yeah, let me know down in the comments, and let me know what you thought of Pokemon Generations. With that, PIEGUYRULZ, out.